On any given day, the heart of Wildflower House might be found in its wide, high-ceilinged foyer, its gracious spaces, and in the century-old photograph of the girls and women hanging on the wall above the foyer table alongside my own needlework. The foyer seemed even larger because of the wide openings into the parlor on one side and the sitting room on the other. An upright piano was angled in a corner near the sitting room, and opposite it was the foyer table, though it looked more like a huge dark chest with drawers than the foyer tables I was accustomed to seeing. The table and the piano had been among the furniture returned to Wildflower House by Sue Deal, the Forsters' heir, after my father, Henry Lang, had purchased the place last March. Later, Dad and I would call this Wildflower House, but that first time I saw the empty house and unkempt grounds, I'd stumbled into the glorious field of wildflowers, a broad swath of bright color and humming life, bordered by thick woods on either side, and had heard the glorious music of Copland's Appalachian Spring, specifically the part that incorporated the old Shaker tune, Simple Gifts. It had taken me a few moments to realize the music was in me, in my head. I'd never tried to explain it to anyone else, but had simply, gratefully, accepted the music as a gift. I'd felt renewed. Yes, perhaps that was the word, though it seemed inadequate to encompass the deep joy I'd experienced. It was a feeling of connectedness to the earth itself. Thus, for a long time, I believed the sunlit gardens filling the open slope down to the creek and shady hideaway nooks in the edges of the forest were the life, the heart of the property. Dad and I had moved here in April. I told him that I would stay until the end of wildflower season, but then he died in June and left me abruptly and unexpectedly alone in that vast house in the country surrounded by forest. For many months, it felt like Wildflower House and the property had lost its heart. I certainly had. Despite the support of the friends I'd made in Cub Creek, it was a struggle for me to get back on track, to commit to and pursue my goal of turning Wildflower House into a creative retreat and event space. Dad had told me I was resilient. Even my friend Mel Albers had called me that. I did recover from my grief, but resuming life and living it are two different things. When I began living again, when happiness found me, it was because Will Mercer had come into my life. I could hardly imagine the past months without him. Last fall, when Sue Deal had asked to hold the book club meeting and then the ladies' auxiliary holiday open house here as our first, though unofficial, events, I had agreed. For the open house, Wildflower House was bedazzled with glitter and garland and fragrant fir boughs, all of which reflected in the deep grain of the warm wood paneling and the lustrous wood flooring. The grand stairway, with its wonderful carvings, seemed to speak of history, of lives lived, and my heart responded, coming fully alive for me again with the Christmas celebration I could never have planned, nor even have imagined, before these months at Wildflower House. Hearts aside, and while I couldn't pin down exactly what made Wildflower House so special, I knew one thing for sure. When it came to human hearts, Will had mine. I was in love with him. He felt the same about me. We didn't use the actual word often. We were taking things slowly with our relationship, but it was evident in our every word and action. In January, only weeks into the new year, I stood at the tall front windows, wearing a warm, oversized sweater hugged tightly around me against the chill. A deep cold had swept into the area right after the new year, and it had settled in. During that time, our biggest worry had been to keep the pipes from freezing. The furnace was working, but high ceilings and wide hallways, though lovely, were prone to drafts.